Eh? Oh, you bastard! Some £3.5 up the swallow.
Come on, the girls just well.
Owned it. Welcome. Get it up, you.
Hello, boys and girls, lads and lassies, and welcome back to Wednesday night's movies. And tonight it's Guest House Paradiso. And to all your Scotsmen out there, happy Burns Night. Enjoy your haggis, neats, and tatties. Should be fun. So, Guest House Paradiso, for those who don't know, is in effect an extension of the TV show Bottom. Rick Mayall and Adrian Edmondson. It is one of my favourites. I roll about laughing every single time I watch it. My favourite bit, I'll explain later on, but it's just the way these two guys do their pratfall violence to each other, which they've been doing it since the Dangerous Brothers when they first paired up. But Guest House Paradiso is in effect the worst hotel in England. It's actually the worst hotel in the world. And there's some bad ones out there. But run by manager Richard Twat, or Thwat, as he likes to be called. And Edward... Oh, what is it? Edward Elizabeth. And I'm going to mispronounce his name, so I'm going to actually fire it up in IMDb just so I don't mess around with it. It is... There, it's there. Give me 2 seconds. I should have had this up and running earlier. I did, but I'd actually was looking at the ode to the haggis. But that's a different story. So... I should have actually had this up, but Guest House Paradiso. It's typical. I can't spell to save myself. And it's there. As I said, Rick plays Richard Twat, and Adrian plays Eddie Elizabeth Ndingombaba. It has got it's got a nice cast. So you've got Bill Nighy is in it with his he's having an affair with his bit in the side, Kate Ashfield. And you've got Fenella Fielding, who is superb in it. She just plays the wee drunk old woman. Then you've got, who at the time was funny, nowadays isn't funny, you've got Simon Pegg. But some others pop up, like for instance you had the saucy wood nymph, Saucy Mayall. You've just got some good fun parts in this. The whole story just has me laughing from start to finish, and it's typical Rick and Adrian humour of ultimate violence to the extreme. So what we'll do is, hi Wend, hi Sadako, thanks for joining us. So have you actually seen the show? Wend, if you love Bottom, you will love this. The bit with the pencil is the best part for me. There's a bit where him and Adrian are basically... So Rick and Eddie are having their usual stuff about, you cook, and they're meant to be shouting through one of those wee speaking tubes, but it's just a hole in the wall with two wee thingy, and so he shoves a pencil through. So as Eddie's looking through after he got the pencil in his eye, he's looking and you can see Rick bending over, talking to the couple. So he puts the pencil through and goes, and just at that point, Rick's leaning over, talking to the girl, going, oh, that's a lovely, and I just couldn't stop myself laughing. It's just the whole attitude of it. It is just so well done. You've got Eddie out on his bike, sleeping as he's driving home after a night out in the pub. There's so much in this movie, you need to see it. It is in effect the worst hotel run by these two, and a pair of deviants, a pair of thieves, a pair of psychopaths or sociopaths. It is just one of those movies that, in effect, what is in it? Apart from the movie violence, there is swearing, there is perversion, there is a deviant. I wouldn't say husband, but he wants to marry the actress, and he goes through the wedding ceremony just himself, just so he can have her. And I mean, she says no. He basically tries to rip her clothes off. He ends up badly. It ends up badly for him. But you've also got kids in it who are puking their guts up, and the way that's done is superb. It's almost like they've got a tube, and they're giving it and it's spewing out and spewing out and spewing out. There's so much in this. The best one in it, I must admit, which I did put up on Twitter, was there is one scene in it where, if you remember the picture on Twitter about the girl who was wearing the red dress, and I think Rick wore it better. So, that was one of the least absurd parts in the movie. They've got holes all over the walls. They've got sneaky passages so they can peek through on women. Eddie is like his Eddie Hitler character in Bottom. He likes his booze, and he's as thick as mince. And Rick is like his Rick character in Bottom. He's a deviant. He is over-sexualized, thinks he's actually smarter than everybody else, and an absolute sociopath and very violent. But although they're violent, they're mostly violent to each other. But there is some good scenes in it. Like, for instance, when they're in the kitchen, you hear thump, crash, bang, clatter, and you see everybody looking. And Eddie comes out and says, the chef's been badly hurt. He says, is it really bad? He says, it's really bad. He accidentally hit himself 17 times with a frying pan. And it's that type of humour. The humour goes all the way through like that. So there's not a lot difference, except this one, unlike Bottom, which is a half-hour story. This is a 40 minutes story. And it has it had me rolling every single time. I was laughing out loud today, and I've watched it about, say, 10, 15 times. But today, when I rewatched it again, even with my critical reviewer eye on it, and I just could not fault it. If you're looking for a great story, you're looking in the wrong place. If you're looking for over-the-top great acting, you're looking in the wrong place. If you're looking for great effects, you're looking in the wrong place. If you're looking for hilariously funny, ultra-violent, Bottom-style fun, this could have been a movie version of Bottom. And to me, that's what it was. So if you love Bottom, you'll love it. Right, it starts off, they have got one regular guest or regular hotel. She's not so much a guest, it's almost like she's a resident, and that's Fenella Fielding. And she's just a wee drunk. She likes her sherry, and She's a wee bit dozy. Played very well by Fenella, and surprise, surprise, she is very good at it. She is a very good actress, and without overplaying everything, the bits she's in it are quite funny. If you had an actress who was trying to get the laugh out of it, I think it would have been less well timed. She just played it properly. So she's only resident, and they live in the hotel is right next to a nuclear power plant. So, and it's right on the edge of a cliff, and it's right out the middle of town, and it's the type of place where the people in town deny its existence. So if somebody's deliberately asking for it, they say there's no such place because they don't want to be associated with it. That's how bad it is. Their chef is being brought over in an illegal immigrant, and they abuse him and keep threatening him. Never, he can't cook, but he's the chef. The two of their waiter disappears. You just hear them talking about the waiter, but he never appeared in it from the beginning, and he just disappears. So it's their story about them having to run the hotel without anybody because the chef disappears, the waiters disappeared, and it's just them. So they have to be the manager, the waiter, the cook, the night porter, the barman, the pervert, the deviant, but they're better at that than they are at the rest of the jobs. And then a family turn up. Well, there's a man and a woman who are having an affair. You don't know about it, but Rick constantly brings it up about how, yes, you know, and you're having it off, and the water's only cold. We keep the water cold because you only need hot water if it's to clean off after masturbation. And was that what the problem was? And it's all that type of humour. It's just him being condescending to his obviously someone with superior intelligence who's stuck in that dump because obviously he's got a bit in the side and he doesn't want anybody to see him. And then a family turn up. Simon Pegg. So it's a man, woman, and their two kids, boy and a girl. And the kids are actually not as annoying as you would imagine the kids it would be in a type of movie like this. Because normally they would have them, they spoiled brats. These were just two normal kids. And they get abused. You just do what you're told. You're a kid. You do not have any rights in this place. And stuffing food in their mouth to try and shut them up. It's just silly, and the outtakes are good because you see the kids actually after it, and Rick messes up, and they go, Rick. Obviously they've got a good relationship with the adults in the movie, so it probably helps when you've got someone like Rick Mayall and Adrian Edmondson who are big kids. Yes, they swear a lot and they do a lot of really weird stuff, but just with the outtakes, you can see the kids obviously had a good relation with them. And it's just when they mess up, it's a case of they're having fun with them at their expense. And they're quite good with it. No, his name in bottom is Eddie Hitler. But in this one, he's Edward Elizabeth Ndingombaba. Don't ask me where they get named because the two Italians in it is Gina it's not Tagliatelle. I think it is. Let's see. She plays. Vincent Cassel plays Gino Bolognese, and Helene. I can't even pronounce her surname. Plays Gina Carbonara. So you can imagine they're taking the piss out of the Italian names and stuff like that. So, no, that's his surname from bottom. Well, if you've seen Bottom, you've seen this type of humour. It is very similar to that. I'm just going through these just to catch up. Yeah. The second half, believe it or not, where it's coming to the end, is not as funny. The beginning is the whole lead up to when the film star, the Italian film star, turns up. Is hilarious. When they start and she turns up and they try and be nice and they're really, like for instance, when she asks for a salad naked, she wants it with she wants it without dressed, without being dressed. So the two of them turn up. Rick has got a pair of underpants on, and Eddie's got a chef hat, where you would imagine a chef hat would be able to stand up. And the two of them come in, and she says, "No, I meant without dressing." And the two of them, oh, and very embarrassed, and go out, and they take the piss out of a lot. And the second half is not as funny. It is funny, but the first half is the laugh out loud hilarious part of this movie. And yeah, the type of humour, the way they act to each other, poking each other in the eye. There's a bit where Eddie's got Rick, he's got two like S-shaped things, and he's got him up his nose, and he keeps pulling him up. So Eddie grabs a pair of nutcrackers, and you see underneath, whoa, and they keep. So that's the type of humour, very Bottom type humour. Hi, Kelly. Hi, thanks for joining us. It's not New Statesman, not Right Said Fred, Blackadder. Young Ones, yes. If you've seen them in the Young Ones, it's very similar to that, the way the two of them acted towards each other. They did the Dangerous Brothers, then they've done like the Young Ones, then they did individual stuff, but they also did Bottom. I've seen them on stage twice doing Bottom. I've seen the movies and the TV show, and this is the movie that to me is a movie of Bottom, but different characters, but in effect it's the exact same characters, just different names for it. So you've still got Rick and Eddie, but it's not Eddie Hitler, it's Eddie Elizabeth Ndingombaba, I think. Ndingombaba, that's what it is. But it's just a case of them playing the same characters that they've played in the Young Ones, they've played in Bottom, they've done on stage. It's that type of thing. Well, Richie was being a perv. Anytime there was a woman, it was a case of, oh, like the bit where he's in the kitchen and he's trying to cook, and he sees the young lovers across the way, and he's standing up on the window ledge with his binoculars, just looking across. That's the type of perv he is. He's basically still looking through holes, looking through door handles, the keyholes, just to have a look. He is a perv. And I think this just makes it, he's more of that, because he's got the house and he can actually, it's got all the wee secret passages and the holes in the wall where he can actually sneak through. Right, here we are. He's not, well, is he keeping himself pure? He's just doing what he did in Bottom. The and that's the type of thing. But at the end, he gets the women, but it sounds like both of them get the women, because the joke at the end is the three of them get a load of money to not mention the nuclear power plant that they've ever stayed where they are, and they got trips and new identities to Barbados. And the three of them are standing behind the bar, and they basically She says, I can't thank you enough. And they says, oh, I think you can. And I think it's my turn. So she goes, he comes out to him. And it's basically, and then it's so he gets the woman, but by the sound of it, so did Eddie. And it's just the three of them live happily ever after. She gets out of her life that she hated, about getting a man who was trying to chase her and that she didn't want, and they were the ones that they saved her by accidentally killing him. And it's a nice wee end, but as I said, the ending is not the best part of the movie. And truthfully, the story didn't really make it's like bottom. The story's just there to actually bring all the gags together. True is. Right, where are we now? Right, okay. Right, you are actually talking work. I'm trying to avoid work. And this movie is definitely not very PC at all. It's the complete opposite. Are they PC? Well, you've got typical pervy males constantly having fantasies about women, and just getting up to what they want to do, and very roadrunner violence. There's clips of Filthy Rich and Cat Flap in my stream, and yes, the violence in that between the two of them is very similar. The bit with the axe to the groin, for instance, in Filthy Rich. Hi Darren, thank you for joining us. Funniest bottom episode was the Halloween special, the one with Eddie done as a devil, and every time he very, yes. Yep, that I like that sketch as well. That was a good one. The second coming of Jesus began to, yeah. It's very similar to those ones. Anyway, we'll do a quick review, a quick clip of, not quite a clip, sorry, a quick browse through the movie. As I said, they start off, the two of them are running this hotel. Eddie comes stoating in, sleeping on his motorcycle, and basically tries to drive it when he wakes up. And then when he touches the accelerator, it accelerates, so he just leaves it. And then he gets a wrench out, and as he touches it, the accelerator flies off. And as he sees all these trucks which are coming down both sides of the road, so he's swerving around. But there's bits when he's actually sitting there waiting to get home, and he's sitting. Then he needs a toilet, so he stands up on the side of it and does a pee over the side, and you see it from the side, and as he's driving, the bike drives itself and eventually gets him home. And even that, it's just the way they did that. It's just, it is done for fun. They don't even try and pretend it's actually serious or not. It's just done for pure laughter. And that's what I like about this. They don't try and actually even pretend that this is a real world type of movie. This is over the top hilarity and violence, and it's good. So, as I said, the waiter disappears, so they have to fill in the part. They're feeding people, which they can't because they can't cook. And then even at night, when Eddie's out, it basically finds fish that fall off the truck coming from the nuclear power station. So they feed it to all their guests. And you can imagine what happens, because the three guys from the power station come into the bar, and then one of them goes into the kitchen and he sees the fish, and they're all glowing green, and there's a cat lying dead, paws in the air, puke coming out his mouth, and they get the garlic out, and the counter goes, and so basically they got to the bit when they're actually trying to get out the house, and out the hotel. So they've got to get their suitcases, and as they're going through the corridor, each guest comes out and there's it's like Exorcist. So there's the young married couple, the adulterous couple, Fenella Fielding, the family with the kids coming out, and it basically then you've got the Italian, and the only other one that didn't eat was the actress. So you've got Rick and Eddie and the actress are the three. It didn't, Gina didn't actually eat, so they're the only three thingy. But the rest of them are all puking up, and if they're lucky, they're puking up, shall we say? And that's how it's finishing. It's basically like, for instance, Eddie nicks crotchless panties, rubber panties and bra from the Simon Pegg character, and Simon Pegg character catches him by he'd actually been looking for them, sees the video playing, and he's actually watching it, and it's watching him running out of their room wearing the rubber pants and bra, and he basically steals. He basically takes the tape because he's going to report it to the police, and they're trying to get it. So they're above in the attic, drill a hole, and then they've got a fishing ring, and they try and hook the tape, but the hookie's nipple ring. And as they pull him up, Simon Pegg rises by the nipple ring, and in the morning he goes like that, and there's no nipple ring, but he can't understand why. So even all that lifting him up by the nipple ring, and the nipple ring suddenly opening and dropping him, he doesn't notice. It's over the top, silly violence, and even the bits where Rick's going through trying to find the tape, he's actually inside a cupboard which gets locked, and he's just a hand, and then there's a vibrator coming in. It's just stupidity for the sake of stupidity. But I would definitely recommend, if you haven't seen it and you like bottoms, watch Guest House Paradiso. It is just hilariously funny. It is one of my top movies. It's a movie where I could just, even if I don't watch it properly and it's just a case of just flipping through to watch sketches in it, some of the stuff is just so hilariously funny. They're laugh out loud funny, and I just like that about something. So if I'm working away doing something, I'll put that on, so every so often I can watch this scene that just has me laughing. Like, for instance, they're creeping through the tunnel inside between the walls, and Rick's got a candle, and as he's creeping through, puts his hand through, and as he does that, the candle goes into his eye. So he's and Eddie's going, what's wrong? What's wrong? He's got candle in my eye, candle in my eye. And Eddie goes, okay then, and sticks it in his eye. The usual stuff. So he's got these two big red burn marks around his two eyes because he accidentally landed in one, and Eddie poked the other candle because he kept saying, candle in my eye, candle in my eye. And he goes, okay then, and his eye. So it's extremely funny. The two of them are funny at that type. They've got it down pat for the violence. So they never actually do it so that you can see the telegraphing of it. So, like, for instance, sometimes you'll see somebody will be standing side on and they'll go like that. You'll see it missing, but the other person still gives it that. This one, they always do it so the person that's getting hit has got his back to the camera. So it makes it look boom, boom, boom. Or, like, for instance, which they've done in the bottom, but they did here as well, the head in the fridge. Dun, dun, dun. They did that, and it's done so well that it's just funny because they've got the timing down pat, they've got their reactions down pat, and it just looks sore every time they do something. And I can't think anybody else who's got that violent comedy violence down as Pat. There is a few people out there like Abbott and Costello, so you always had to slap. That worked between them, but it wouldn't if they'd gone over the top with the silly violence, like the Three Stooges with it whoop 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 in the eyes and stuff like that. They did that, but they didn't go over the top because it was comic book violence. Whereas this one is Roadrunner violence. It's over the top. Looks so violence, whereas the Three Stooges violence looks like comic book kiddie violence, so it looks over the top. So you can see them doing that and pulling down, so they know they're not poking them in the eye. They're doing it in such a way that you can see it, but it's for fun. And like the bonk, and there's always the clunk, bonk when they're actually hitting someone. So it takes that away. So if you had seen the Three Stooges and he basically goes punch, and you just hear the, whereas with them it's always a whoop, yep, and it's so it always played the sound to lessen it. Whereas Rick and Ed don't do that. They basically go full out with the no sound effects, just the bang, clatter, crunk. So like if somebody's meant to be hit with a frying pan, it's the sound of the frying pan hitting something. However, it's over the top. Like when he's hitting, Rick is hitting Eddie with a jug. He's just bam, 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 and then a bit it goes boom. And as he does that, the shape of Eddie's face is actually embedded in the pan. And as he does that, he goes, oh, look. And as he does that, Eddie's already picked up a fire extinguisher and hit him with it. And he's hitting him with it to the point he slips in an egg and it goes up and then comes down and hits him. As I said, laugh out fun. So it is. The Three Stooges, that's why I brought the Three Stooges up, because they're the only ones I've seen who do comic violence. Yes, but it's, as I said, they do sound effects with it. It takes the edge off it. Whereas the two of them, theirs is so over the top violence. There is no edge to it. And that's the difference. So it looks over the top. It'd be like watching Tom and Jerry violence. You knew that was over the top, like with the difference between Home Alone and Tom and Jerry. If Tom get hit with an iron, you see his face was flat when the iron fell, so it was over the top. Whereas in Home Alone, he did that, it just went boom, he fell, and there's a mark of the iron. Although it was funny with what happened, they didn't take the silliness out of it by having a flat bit on his head where the iron would have hit, so it would have been an iron shape. They have a burn mark there on his face, or the bruise mark, and it's not as comic violence. It's more funny violence. So there is different ways. Hey, it's not dark. That's the good thing about Bottom. There's definitely no dark comic violence in this. It is definitely light-hearted, over the top. Let's have a laugh at the two of these nutcases. So less of it. So yeah, but it is. I love the Three Stooges. I'm actually thinking about doing some Three Stooges stuff on the channel later on as well. I do like the Three Stooges. Curly, Larry, Moe, Shemp as well. I do like some of their stuff. It's the same as Abbott and Costello. I like their stuff as well. There's certain parts of it I don't like, but there is other parts, like I've got some of their sketches on my channel, like the 7 9s add up to 27. It's that type of thing. It's just counting it up. Is it 7 13s add up to 29? And it's that type of thing. I've got the humour down, and it's just a case of I like the type of humour with there is bits of violence throughout them. You look at Laurel and Hardy, there is bits of like take off your hat, bonk, and or else in the Blue Ridge Mountain over the vineyard, don't. And it's so there's humorous violence throughout a lot of the old black and white comics. The Three Stooges, Laurel and Hardy, Abbott and Costello, even Norman Wisdom did it, but his was more pratfall violence, so it was him hurting himself. But you also had Buster Keaton, who would do things that he would get hit. Harold Lloyd Razzell was the everyman who always got things done to him, and he would get beat up. whereas these guys have brought it into the 20th century and they've gone, it's OTT violence, and it's OTT to the point where nobody could think it's real. And if anybody thinks it's real, then those are people I wouldn't want to hang around with, because if they think that's real, then that's the way they do with people. Yeah, that's very true. It can be life affirming, and yeah, and it's a Scottish thing. Yeah, I mean, somebody stands in a nail, you go, and then people will be laughing. Yeah, I mean, just for the simple fact is you're popping around. I mean, when I grew up, we would do the stupid stuff, like putting a tack on a seat. Somebody sits down, what? But once you stood up, it's like, oh, I'm going to get you. And it's a laugh and a joke. It was never done in mean spirited. It was just pranks. Whereas sometimes you can stub your toe, and how sore can that be? But you're still stoating around going, big smile on your face, because it was just something happened. It was so stupidly done. We've all done it. Yeah. I just actually said that, but yeah, comedy when you fall down a Mayall. You look at Rowan Atkinson. Remember the one with he was walking along the street with it looking at the camera and he walks into the pole? It's that type of thing. If he just actually walked into a pole, if somebody was just filming and somebody behind him just walked into a pole, people would be going, oh. But because your camera's panning up and he's playing up to the camera and all that, and walks into the pole, it's funny. It's the same idea when people are expecting it. He walks up to the pole and goes, ha ha, and steps round the pole, falls down a manhole. It's funny because it's over the top violence. Whereas if you saw someone, how many times have you watched a video on YouTube of somebody stepping back and falling down a manhole over a curb or something? You go, ow. But it's funny because it's over the top funny. But if you're watching it and somebody opens a door and thump right in the person's nose, go boom, you just think, ow. Because it's not funny, because it's you see it happening to the person the same as you see a person falling down a manhole. But because one's over the top, it is comedy. Comedy gold. Yeah. See, that's why I think you should have seen this. When you should have seen this, if you like it to the point where you just want to actually sit and watch it again, watch Guest House Paradiso. Wow, I'm really surprised. But then again, did you like the young ones? The way Adrian and Ed and Rick actually acted towards each other? Like, for instance, you missed both my legs when he's got the baseball bat and whacks him in the crotch. That type of violence, you just imagine that. Try to think of the young ones part, apart from the, yeah, you missed both my legs. Like the bit when they're out playing cricket and he's standing there and then Rick just keeps on winding up and running towards him. And Eddie's winding up and Eddie's sitting like that. And because he knows he's getting hit with the ball. It's that type of violence. But Bottom just brings it out. And then Guest House Paradiso is a movie version of it. And that's the thing. And Scotland's very well known for having dark humour in the worst of times. And I think a lot of people have got a dark humour. It basically, as you said, it does help you get through bad times. How many times I mean, they say in Scotland, you have more fun at a Scottish funeral than you do at an English wedding. But it's only because even in the dark times, we always have a laugh and a joke. We celebrate life rather than me. Whereas I'm going to a funeral tomorrow, my uncle's, and I know fine well, even though it's going to be a sad time, there's going to be a lot of laughs and jokes because my uncle was a good joker. He was basically the life and soul of the party. So you can imagine what people are going to, all the stories people are going to do. So we'll all be laughing about the things my uncle did. And it's that type of thing. The dark humour is definitely a coping mechanism. So what can I say? This movie, this is one of my top 10 favourite movies. I like Bottom, but Guest House Paradiso has got one of those. In Bottom, I enjoy it. I do enjoy the certain parts of it. Certain parts are really funny. Certain parts is sort of a bit dragged out. But all in all, it is a good 8 out of 10 for fun. Whereas Guest House Paradiso gets a 10 for me. The part at the end is not bad. It's just, it is the least funny of the whole thing. But considering the first half of the movie has me laughing out loud and I can't stop myself. I'm sitting here, even if I'm sitting on my own, I'm laughing out loud at myself just because of the situations they get them in. So I give this a 10 out of 10. It's one of my top 10 go-to movies. I love Guest House Paradiso. So don't forget to get it because, as the tag said, it's rude, crude, and very funny. And the back at the look, bottom with knobs on, and it's not the door handle type of knobs. So my recommendation, boys and girls, lads and lassies, is get a hold of Guest House Paradiso. Sit down, watch it. Make sure there's no kiddies around, no aunts and uncles, mums and dads, grands and granda who can be easily offended. There's no sex in it, but there's a lot of violence. It is just a movie that you need to watch. And there you go, a very quick review with a few chats. Right. I'll finish during the chats. It's basically, it's a quote. Did you see the coupling episode about the giggle loop? It's one of those things you basically, it's a somber occasion. You can imagine somebody doing something silly because that is your family and you just, and once you do that, you can't stop yourself. But it's to do with, how, the thing is, families know how families act. So even if it's the person who's passed away, you knew what the type of thing they would do at a funeral. And you can just imagine how they would react to their own funeral because of their personality. And that's the thing. So that helps as well. But yes, it can start some things you don't expect. Right. Well, that's the thing. You can't. I can't remember. I used to watch Mary Tyler Moore. Then I watched Rhoda. Then I watched Phyllis. And I'm trying to remember what came after Phyllis. I'm sure there was another one. But Rhoda was my favourite. Hello, this is Carlton, your dog man. Remember that? That was Rhoda was an offshoot of the Mary Tyler Moore show. Just goes to show where the mind goes with these ones. Yeah. I can't recall that one, I must admit. There you go. There's a copy there. I remember the teacher everybody was scared of in ours. We used to have a hilarious laugh, not at his expense, but with him, because he used to play the bagpipes, and we knew that. So anytime he was very stern and stuff like that, somebody would be up the back going, and it's just basically, it was just one of those jokes, because how can you actually be terrified of somebody who plays the bagpipes and marches up and down their kilt on a Saturday at a parade or something? But yeah, mind you, there was a lot of people who were scared of Mr. Swanson, to that much that one of the geography teachers used to send people to be belted to Mr. Swanson because she couldn't do it hard enough, so she would send you up to Mr. Swanson. Now that was scary, getting a belt from Mr. Swanson. He was the type of belt, he wouldn't go belt, he would lean back. So you were getting a belt, you were, and you knew you got belted from Mr. Swanson. Yes, teachers like that. Oh. But if you ever get a chance to watch the one about the funeral in Coupling, which we'll be doing in a few weeks' time, Coupling season 1, 2, 3 are the best until Jeff leaves. But Coupling starts with all the guys. So you've got Jeff, Patrick, and Steve. The music's the dun 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 dun, and they're all wearing the black suits, the white shirt and the black tie, and they're walking slow motion. And then there's a bit where the girl saying, "We just do, you three stop playing Reservoir Dogs." So they all start speeding up and walking normally because they're walking in slow motion deliberately with the music in the background. But it's just that's what's going through their head, and that's how it starts about the funeral. So just them doing the Reservoir Dogs talk because the three of them are dressed the same. And then it goes into the funeral and talk about the giggle loop and things that happen at a funeral. Like, don't be unaffected, don't be affected by it. If you don't want to be sad, think about something else. And poor Jeff thinks about something else because he's got an interview on his mind. So he's thinking about that, which somebody told him to make sure you're not frightened at an interview. Imagine everybody naked. So he's now suddenly can't switch it off. So he's in this funeral, having a funeral with a lot of old people, and he keeps going and stuff like that. And so it's the whole episode has got bits and pieces throughout, but it is a good episode considering it's about a funeral. But I haven't seen the Mary Tyler Moore one. So, see, Rhoda was just great. Phyllis I wasn't as keen on, and I liked Mary Tyler Moore, but Rhoda was just hilarious. And Carlton, I still remember, she just pressed it to call Carlton and, "Hello, this is Carlton, you're done, man." It's just one of those catchphrases that will live forever. Yeah, that's exactly bottom or Guest House Paradiso. Yes, you can imagine Rick and Adrian basically qualifying and just staying together and just getting worse and worse as the years go on. That's true. I need to retire so I can catch up in mines. But that's going to be, considering the government have actually said they're going to increase the retirement age by a year or two. Luckily, I'll miss it because it said it will only affect people in the younger 50s, and I'm in the older 50s. So I should miss it. So I should get to retire a year early. If I was a wee bit younger, I would have been another year. Yeah, I remember that was the voice of Carlton is Garfield. Yeah, I couldn't remember his name either. Unfortunately, the Predator wouldn't survive Rick and Eddie. That's the problem, Roman. Jennifer Lawrence, did she not actually meet the Predator, or was that a different one? Or was it a predator rather than the predator? I don't see that as a problem, being cursed with a good memory for things. As my old man used to say, that he remembers all the shite, but he can't remember the good stuff. And we're all the same. I remember crap loads about nothing important except to me. And that's the thing. So stupid things stick in your head, like what actor appeared in almost every Western in Hollywood in the 50s and 60s, 40s and 50s, with most of the big stars. There's one actor who appeared in almost all the early Westerns. So he was. And he always talked like that. And basically, Gabby Hayes, Jack Elam, no, but Gabby Hayes, he always talked like that. He was always playing the old miner or the old drunk or something, because he was friendly with a lot of the big stars, so they always had him in one of their movies. But Gabby Hayes was one of the ones that did most of the Westerns, and I think he had, considering the amount of Westerns he used to do, he had the most credits for Westerns. But Jack Elam's absolutely superb. I loved Jack Elam in Cactus Jack with Arnold Schwarzenegger and Kirk Douglas. He was fun in that. Yeah, and basically that's what I'm saying. But the thing is, the only thing that actually superseded her was the Predator, because she met him. Cactus Jack is superb. Cactus Jack is one of my favourite westerns, and the other one is Lightning Jack with Paul Hogan. Those two are my fun go-tos. I think I actually like them better than I like Blazing Saddles, but in a different way. Because Blazing Saddles is over the top fun humour. Cactus Jack and Lightning Jack sort of play it like westerns, but it is funny, but it's not a case of like they do jokes. It's just funny situations of how the characters end up. And that's what I like about it. I've got a copy of a couple of episodes of his TV show. And the guy with him used to talk like that, and he always had his wee hat on for because he was a lifesaver, and and Paul Hogan always had his blue and white striped was it a t-shirt? It was a vest or a shirt that the sleeves were ripped off, and he always had a pair of shorts on. Yeah, I liked Paul Hogan's TV show. There's no such thing as useless information. It's just information that other people don't care about. There's a difference. The Cisco Kid was I watched that. That was the one about the rabbi, wasn't it? Gene Wilder played the rabbi. And he was fun in the first two Crocodile Dundee films. You call that a knife? This is a knife. Which they've used as a trope in a lot of other things. You call that a car? This is a car. And it's that. So that movie obviously had you look at it now, because I watched the one about him and his friend who realised that the Australian government were giving grants for certain, so the two of them said they were gay, so they could open a gay nightclub because they would get a tax break for it, and they were going out of business. Gene Wilder and Harrison Ford, yeah, that was the one. I remember seeing that. Jack Elam was excellent in that. Support your local sheriff, and I loved it. I just loved the bit with the paint and the bit where sticking his finger in the gun. That was just a silly fun sheriff movie. They used it in everything. They basically have used it in a lot of stuff. The Simpsons, Christ, was one of the first one they did it. Because you remember Mole Man? You called that a knife? So they did use it as a slightly altered jest, but they have used it as a trope. And it is true. So what I'm going to do there is I'm going to finish off, seeing it's been just me you're stuck with. And see, there you go. I was going to actually do some clips, but I was too busy watching it and enjoying it without going, I should have clipped that. I'm going to do some clips, see if I can get some clips up from Guest House Paradiso, some of the good fun ones, because there is a lot of good violence. But you know how YouTube is, they might not like me putting a lot of this over the top violent stuff up. So I might have to stick with just bits and pieces. They let me put some Al Bundy up, so I should be okay with either Bottom or Guest House Paradiso. So, ladies and gents, boys and girls, burns and burnettes. So, thank you for joining us for one of my favourites, Guest House Paradiso. I would definitely recommend it. It is a top. If you like Bottom, you will love this. If you like the young ones, you will love this. If you like Filthy Rich and Cat Flap, you will love this. If you like the Dangerous Brothers, you will love this. Anything, if you like the Rick and Adrian working together, you will love this. This is just, to me, is the pinnacle. They got a good movie, and it's a universal picture, which surprised me, I must admit, being a universal. But you've got Bill Nye, you've got Fenella Fielding, and you've got Simon Pegg, and you've got Sophie Myles as well. There is a few other ones in there, but they're the bigger names in it, and it is a good, fun movie. Yes, if you like The Predator, you might like this, although the violence is slightly more in this than it was ever in the Predator, because that was all distance violence. They do it up close and personal. Okay, so stream's going to end, so thank you one and all, and I'll see you all Saturday night, same PJ channel, same PJ time. I was going to say bat channel and bat time, but I decided that's 66, and we'll do that when we're doing the Batman 66 review. That I know some people find too light and silly, Roman. It's not dark and brooding. So I'll be also on the Tabletop Junkies channel on Friday night. That's 11 p.m. UK time, 5 or 6 time. I don't know what time it is in America when we're doing it here. However, that's Castles and Crusades. So I will see you back here Saturday for Let's Talk Geeky. Until then, boys and girls, thank you very much for joining us, and have a lovely Burns night and good night.